Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome back to our intermediate player guide series, as our video today is going to be part 4 and talking about battleship, angling, and armor. So I had this ranked match here on Haven Domination mode a week ago, I think it was, and I kind of hung on to this video and I realized, hey, this would actually make a really good video in talking about angling in a battleship and where to aim and dealing with other ships. So let's just hop right into it. The first thing that really helps when we're discussing angling and where to aim is knowing, one, positioning well. That kind of revolves around a lot of different things in the game, but also understanding even the armor of your own ship. Because you don't want to be putting yourself in a vulnerable state where an enemy battleship cruiser can punish you severely if you're not angled properly. So it's knowing, in this example, in this instance, is knowing Amagi's weakness and strength with her armor, okay? So her hull is basically completely covered, almost, with 32 millimeter plating on the bow, the hull midsection of the ship. But then when we get to the stern, it's a different story. So there's a part of her aft, her stern, that's covered with 32 millimeter, but there's also a larger section that wraps around both sides of the aft end that is coated, is covered in 254 millimeter plating, which means, in this example, that you can angle away quite effectively and take less damage. Where a lot of players, battleship players or cruiser players, like, hey, I'm going to be able to do a lot of damage to the aft end of this Amagi. Not so much, okay? Here, this is a quick aiming. I'm waiting for him to slow down, and you're going to see his smokestack. He's going to start reversing. So I was waiting for him reaching that one point where he's just about to stop and start reversing, but unfortunately, we only get 2 overpins. I do get set on fire, but because we're going behind an island, we won't see any enemy ships for a little bit here. I go ahead and use the damage control party. I'm just explaining that decision there. But this aft end armor belt that you have on the Amagi is 254 millimeters, so you can get away with a lot more, which means if the aft end is covered with this 254 millimeter plating and the stern, or sorry, the bow of the ship, if it doesn't have that plating, then that means, hey, let's use Amagi and positioning her more as a kiting away ship. So we let the enemy ships push into us, okay? So that is the strength that I have with Amagi, and you're going to see me illustrating that here. Now, I'm coming out here. We have the Alsace here. It's a French battleship, so we got to lead a little bit more because she moves pretty fast. And we didn't quite get to see a good perspective as she's coming up behind the island, but I wanted to catch her off guard. So we get 17,700 damage done. I will break down a little bit more of how I'm aiming here. The French don't have the strongest armor. It's not a Kremlin. It's not a Russian battleship. So we can expose that pretty well. Here, I cut the throttle. I turned out. I avoided all those salvos. Here, I'm aiming just a little bit above the water line. When one of the things that helps with the aiming aspect is knowing how fast are the ships that you're targeting, okay? So here, we have a French battleship, the Alsace. It's very quick, it moves very fast. And then behind, who's just firing at me now, is the Kansas, okay? The Kansas is the Tier VIII slow American battleship. Here, we bounced 1 shell. Now, keep in mind, I don't want all my guns on the Kansas here. I'm just going to use my rear turrets here. And then I'm going to turn a little bit more because the Alsace is just about to pop out behind the island. And I don't want him to catch me really off guard here. Cleveland is going to start firing, so we're going to open up a little bit more distance. Again, we turned out. We avoided most of that damage. So even positioning well and playing with the throttle, playing with your rudder, you can avoid the damage that you take. I've actually been doing pretty well with that so far. Okay, we're aiming back in. He's coming in towards us. And I'm kind of waiting to see if he's going to turn out here or not. He doesn't seem like he's going to. So it's a little more tricky, I think, when you're aiming for a battleship that's coming in at you at an angle. We did 8,000 there. I needed a little bit more lead. I was aiming for his superstructure. The trick with the how to aim is that they're basically coming into you. So even if it looks like I was aiming a little low there, I'm accounting that he's going to be closing the distance, and I wanted to hit basically the upper armor belt, the superstructure, which is not a whole lot on Alsace. Here, he's turned away, but then I have a pretty good feeling he's going to come back in just a little bit. So we aimed for waterline, and we got him. You can see I have a mod here. It's Navigator something. There's two things that I like about this mod, and it's a part of the World of Warships official ModStation that you can get. I have a whole video on it and what mods I run. But here, what I like about it is, number one, is it shows the angle of the enemy ship that you're targeting, okay? So it shows me how he's going back and forth. He's going for the shooting at sea level above me. But it also helps give me an idea. If you see in the bottom part of that, it shows how my ship is positioned. How much angle am I, or side am I showing to the enemy ship? So then I can kind of use that to justify how I need to angle a bit more. Here, I'm a little showing a little probably too much that I'm more comfortable with, but he's pretty focused on the Seattle, a light cruiser, so I get to use that to my advantage. The Seattle was kind of ghosting behind me, and that's totally fine because I want them. I want to be in between him and the enemy battleships here. Okay, so let's talk more about the aiming here as we load back up. You can see I'm bringing my stern of my ship in towards him. Okay, he's still going up. He's turning out a little bit. So basically I'm trying to aim for that upper part of that superstructure, the belt. Yeah, we did pretty good there. And with Amagi's 410 millimeter guns, we can really make good use of that. I'm pretty sure they're 410. I'll write a comment in here if I'm wrong. So I know that I can get away with a little bit more versus if I was firing perhaps 381 millimeter guns here. Okay, here he's really angled in, and again he's going to be closing in the distance on me. So let's see how well I did with the aiming. I still was a little bit to the rear of the ship. I should have angled a bit more because again, it's the Alsace, it's a French battleship. He has really good speed. So again, we were playing with the throttle. We're going to start slowing down again. See if I can't break down more of my aiming here. So basically I want to go for more of the that low part of the superstructure. So that's where I was aiming at when I took that shot. And we hit that, got some ricochets, probably could have aimed a little bit higher there. Because when he's this angled to me, I'm not going to do any damage firing at his hull. So basically we're having to go for his superstructure, upper armor belt, that area. Okay, here he's turning out. So because he's still closing the distance, I'm going for that upper part of the hull, just below the superstructure, and we're able to kill him. So we're already at 102,000 damage just from that alone. Okay, now let's talk about taking on the Kansas. So Kansas, Tier VIII American battleship. It's really slow. It's about to get a buff on its cooldown on the repair party, going from 80 seconds to 40 seconds. That will be next patch, I think, 11.5. So here we're aiming in. He's really slow, so I have to pull back how far I'm aiming. So that's something you have to keep in mind when you're aiming at different ships, is you have to have a somewhat relatively good grasp. That was aimed too low, so I still didn't give him enough count, thinking he was going faster than what he actually was. But you have to learn the ships that you're targeting when you're in a battleship is how fast are they, you know. So here he's slow. We don't have to lead as much. I mean, you can see he's not really making a bunch of speed there. He's bleeding off a lot. This is really important because he's turning. Even though my guns are reloaded, I'm not going to fire because he's turning to give us actually a really good broadside possibility here. So he's still turning into it. He's committed to it. And I know I should be able to punish him rather handily. Yeah, almost 15,000 damage. A beginner player, this was me when I first started playing World of Warships, is as soon as my guns reload, I think, oh, I gotta fire instantly. Like, max my damage per minute. I need to fire as soon as my guns reload. And that's not true. you can get so much more damage even if you hold on to your shot for another 5-10 seconds. Here, the Kansas is angling away from us, so we're going to raise it. We want to get, again, that superstructure, lower part of the hull, because he eats really good pins because he doesn't have the best armor. But just holding your shot for a broadside versus a ship that's angled, you can do so much more damage on. So if you learn fire control or happy gun trigger, that helps a lot. Okay, so we're going to use our rudder shift, turn back out. He's still kiting away, so we're gonna aim a little high. I think that one I needed to aim a little bit high on. Let's see if I was right. Yeah, we did all right. But again, the Kansas doesn't have strong armor. It eats a lot of penetrations just because it's a thick battleship, okay? So you can see I'm already turning back in. Yeah, not a lot of damage there. That was a little bit more. But one of the things you can do with your gun reload time is I can just effectively use my rear turrets here. And then when my forward turrets are reloaded, I can bring the ship online. The other aspect is knowing that Kansas has a pretty long reload time. I think it's 30, so at least 33, if not a little more. Maybe it's closer to 40. I can't remember. It's been a while since I played the Kansas. So knowing that, hey, he might be up for reload time now might affect how you position angle. Like, you don't want to get greedy just to get all your guns off. Yeah, so we took a little damage there. Kind of hard when I'm not doing this live to more illustrate exactly where I'm aiming, the thought process. Like, I know myself. But let's see, let's go back in here. Okay, he's turning towards me a little bit. He wants to get behind the island. See, he's giving us a pretty good side. So I'm gonna wait just a tiny bit longer here, and I'm undetected. And he's not perfectly broadside, so we're gonna aim high a little bit to account that he's still somewhat sailing away from us. So you can see where the shells land here. Okay, we actually got pretty good damage there. He was picking up speed there finally because we were so used to him constantly bleeding speed with his rudder shift. So we could have actually let a little bit more there. But I imagine we probably have the center of a ship pretty damage saturated. So the fact that we hit him on the stern was actually not a bad thing. Okay, so now because he's sailing away, we need to close the distance. Our team's been doing rather well on the opposite flank. And we're up to 157,000 damage, and this is just a ranked. It's 6 versus 6. It's not a 12 versus 12 match like in randoms. But you can let me know your thoughts. If you would like me to do a live commentary on the aiming, angling, to talk more through the thought process. It's a little bit different when it's a battle feature that I'm just highlighting to you, because I can't commit to like, hey, I was exactly thinking this in this moment. I've played a lot of battles since then. Okay, so the battle clock, we're 900 seconds away. I get to fire for free there because we have islands between him. He can't see me. Okay, not bad. And so I'm raising the reticle a little bit higher to see where exactly is he at. And I hold there just a little bit longer because his ship just broke past the island, but he's spotting me with his fighter. So I'm gonna have to be careful of showing too much side here. And I'm gonna use my rudder shift to start turning back in. I go ahead and pop my spotter plane. I'm just trying to see him if I get a plane high enough in the air, because I'm only going to get one more salvo off before this match is likely over. Okay, so he's still sailing away. So we're going to aim higher and lead him appropriately. And I saw him shoot as I followed the shells in, so I automatically started turning my rudder shift in. Okay. So that is a basic overview understanding of how I like to position my ship in terms of the angling, the armoring, angle, aiming, and understanding the armor of your ship, the strengths. So we did pretty good there with 170,000 damage for just a randoms match, 6 versus 6. So if you'd like to see me do a live commentary to talk more about the aiming, angling aspect with a battleship, I would be more than happy to do a live commentary on that. That could be next Wednesday's video edition if you want me to break down a little bit more of that. where I can give you more of that live commentary. Otherwise, we might look to do the cruiser next. Then we can look at doing a destroyer. Yeah, probably that's what I'm thinking right now. But if you want to see a little bit more of the Battleship, just again let me know in the comments. Yeah, I was just trying to think if I had anything else I wanted to add to that. So overall, it was a really good game. It wasn't an exciting game by any means, right? It was pretty straightforward. Both of the Kansas and the Alsace at different points illustrated not properly angling to me. They didn't really seem to understand that these 410mm guns can punch for sure. And if you don't respect these guns on the Amagi, then you can eat a lot of pin damage. And even if I wasn't an Amagi, a different ship with maybe low caliber guns, they still weren't at different points respecting how much side they were giving me, especially the Alsace. He was rather poor about that. So if you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you did not, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I really appreciate it, as we are on our march to 1,000 subscribers. So I appreciate you being a part of the FLT community. So until next time, take care.